Siri finally got a major upgrade in iOS 27. There's now an actual Siri app. You can have proper back and forth conversations with it. It can understand what's on your screen, look through your personal information, see through your camera, and even take actions across apps. But instead of just going through all the new features, I want to show you 7 new ways that I think the new Siri can actually be useful in real life. It's going to be released in just a few days, and I think it's going to be incredibly useful. Let's get started. One of the biggest Siri upgrades is personal context. And I think the most useful way to think about this is that you no longer need to remember where everything is. For example, maybe someone recommended a restaurant to you a few months ago, but you have no idea where they sent it through messages or email. Instead of searching individual apps, I can ask Siri, "What was the restaurant Gautam recommended me?" Apple says Siri can use personal context to search across apps like messages, mail, photos, and more. You can also try requests like find the email where Gautam shared details about the upcoming trip. Show me the photos from our Alaska trip where we were near the glacier. You can invoke Siri by calling it, holding the side button, or on supported iPhones, just swiping down from the dynamic island. The key here is to intentionally be a little vague instead of searching with the exact keywords. Describe what you remember and see if Siri can connect the dots. Personal context requires Siri AI, so you need an iPhone 15 Pro or newer supported Apple Intelligence iPhone. The next feature is on-screen awareness, but there is a much better way to use this than simply asking what's on my screen. Use it whenever you're about to copy information from one app and do something with it somewhere else. Say a friend sends me an address to a party, I can simply invoke Siri and say, "Drive me there." Siri will recognize the address on the screen. Start driving directions to the address. Save time by manually typing the address onto maps and then driving. Similarly, there is a calendar event on an invitation. I can ask Siri to add a calendar event, and Siri will understand and do the job for us. Even better, I'm looking at a random social media post and would like to ask questions about it. I can invoke Siri and ask something like, "What's the price of this watch?" Or if it's a travel information, I can ask, "Track the flight status of this reservation." On-screen awareness makes 10 steps into one. This sounds like a basic AI feature, but it completely changes how you use Siri. Siri AI now supports proper follow-up conversations. So instead of treating every request like a completely new question, you can keep refining the same idea. So I could ask, "Plan a Saturday in Seattle." Then instead of starting over, I can say, "Make it kid-friendly." Then only give me indoor options. And then add somewhere good for vegetarian lunch. You don't need to keep saying Seattle, Saturday, or repeat everything that you already told it. And I think this is especially useful when you're comparing something, researching a trip, planning your day, or trying to make a decision. Instead of coming up with one perfect Siri command, you can start broad and gradually narrow it down. And this is completely new in iOS 27. Siri now finally has its own dedicated app. Open the Siri app and you can see conversations that you have previously had with Siri. Start a new conversation here. Search through previous ones and pin conversations that you want to come back to. It even synchronizes across all the Apple devices. This changes how I would use Siri for anything that takes more than 5 minutes. Let's say I'm planning a trip. Instead of having one Siri conversation today and completely losing that context, I can come back to the Siri app later, open that conversation, and continue planning. The best part about the app is I can type and chat with Siri instead of a voice conversation. I can copy paste emails, ask it to summarize, draft responses, and a lot more now with the Dedicated app, which was not possible with voice only Siri before. Another new feature is Siri mode inside Camera app. Open Camera, switch to Siri mode, point the phone at something, and tap the shutter button. Siri can then use visual intelligence to understand what's physically in front of you. Apple specifically shows things like getting nutritional information from a plate of food and splitting a bill with friends using Apple Cash. But there are a lot more practical ways that I would use this. At a grocery store, point it at something unfamiliar and ask, "What is this and how would I cook it?" While traveling, point it at a landmark and ask about its history. Point it at a menu and ask questions about the dishes. Previously, you would probably take a photo, open an AI app, upload it, and ask your question. Now the camera itself becomes an input for Siri. This is my favorite. Siri is now available in any text field, and that is a huge deal. With the new Write with Siri tools, Siri can generate text from scratch virtually anywhere that you can type. So instead of opening notes and staring at a blank page, I could tap here and say, "Create a 3-day packing checklist for New York." Then I can say, separate it into clothes, toiletries, and electronics, or remove anything that I probably don't need. And then you can edit it to your liking, so you don't have to always start from scratch. You can now use the same thing for brainstorming, meal planning, emails, project outlines, or even just organizing random thoughts. Siri can also revise what you have already written, give feedback, and in mail and messages, Apple says it can account for how you normally communicate with a particular recipient. So the useful part isn't simply Siri can write. It's that you can start and refine the content inside the place where you already need it. And this might be the iOS 27 feature that makes the most powerful iOS app, in my opinion, the Shortcuts app, a lot more useful to people. Normally, if you want a complicated shortcut, you need to understand triggers, actions, variables, and how everything connects. In iOS 27, when you create a new shortcut, there's a new Describe a Shortcut interface. You explain what you want in normal language, and Apple Intelligence assembles the required actions. You can even describe changes afterward and have it adjust the shortcut. When I'm leaving home, turn off all the lights at home. Shortcuts figures out the actions needed to make this happen. So instead of learning how to build an automation, start with the outcome that you want and then describe it. For me, this is probably one of the most practical AI upgrades in iOS 27. So those are the 7 ways I think the new Siri in iOS 27 becomes much more useful. The biggest change isn't just that Siri can answer harder questions, it's that Siri now understands more of the context around the question. What you're looking at, what you're talking about, and increasingly, what you actually want done. I'll catch you in the next one. This is Anjana. Bye-bye.